Hey there, Been a Book Tech here. Today's my entire basic phone collection as of June 15, 2026. I have 91 basic phones actually. And so, let's get started. Note that I haven't gotten any more basic phones, I'm just doing this as a revamp to the last one from June 1st actually. Since I changed smartphones. Here's my LG A275. This one works but the speaker doesn't. Here's my Motorola i455 on Boost Mobile. This one doesn't work. Here's my Samsung Kiwi. This one works. Here's my LG KP151Q. This one works with battery issues. Here's my Guardian NTT 550. This one's untested. Here's my Blue Brooklyn. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Sorry for a shaky camera, just my phone doesn't have OIS. Here's my Nokia 110 2012. This one works with a polarizer issue. Here's my LG 090B. This one works. Here's my LG Onyx on OI. This one works, but the screen doesn't. And no, I'm not buffer flipping this on. Flipping this up. Like this. Because if not, I'll probably just break the flex cable since it's split to half. Here's my Nokia 8285i. This one works, but has an extremely bad battery. Here's my Samsung GT E26W. This one works. Here's my Motorola W218 on Clevo. This one works with a broken display. Here's my Red Prime 2.4. This one works with a broken display. Here's my Redfin Music 2. This one works with a broken display. Here's my Nokia 11080. This one works. Here's my Samsung SGH G600. This one only works on a charger and the screen doesn't work. Here's my Motorola Razr Z3 on Clevo. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my Multilaser Mirage Smart. This one's untested. Here are two Nokia 2310s. This one doesn't work and this one works. Here's my DLY C230. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my Sony Ericsson T230. This one's untested. Here's my Nokia C300. This one works. Here's my Nokia 2630 on Clevo. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Trying to hold the camera. Now there we go. Here's my Nokia X100. This one works, but with a polarizer issue. Here's my LG C299. This one works. Here's my Samsung GT1500. This one works. Here's my Samsung Hero on Vivo. This one works. Here's my Motorola Razr V3i on Clevo. This one works. Here's my Multilaser Vita 3. This one's untested. Here are two Samsung GT1203s. These are the most common phones in Brazil. Both work. Here's my Nokia 2220 slide. This one works, but with a polarizer issue. Here's my Nokia C126. This one works, but with a polarizer issue. Here's my Guardian GSN 60 on Brazil Telecom. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my Motorola i485 on Nextel. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my Samsung GTE 2330B. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Almost dropped it there. Here's my Nokia Astra 205. This one works, but the screen doesn't. Here's my Nokia 6267. This one works, but has internal screen issues. Here's my Multilaser Vita 4. This one works. Here are two Motorola WX290s, both work. Here's my LG Brio, this one works. Here's my Motorola Grid on Nextel, this one, I lost the battery for it. Here's my Sony Ericsson W205 on Clevo, this one works. Here's my Blue Z3, this one works but was just auto turns on. And also broken display, sadly. Here's my Nokia X300, this one's untested. Here's my Motorola C168i on AT&T, looks like a Go phone. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my BlackBerry Curve 9320 on Clevo. This one only shows light on the charging screen. Here's my Lennox CX904A, this one works. Here's my Multi-Laser Upplay 2019, this one works. Here's my Motorola C115 on Clevo, this one used to work but doesn't anymore. Here's my Motorola C155 on Qing, this one also works but doesn't anymore. Here's my Siemens A52 on Clevo, this one works. Here's my LG Photo 2 clone, this one warms up when using a battery but it doesn't do anything else. Here's my Nokia C100 clone, this one doesn't work. Here's my Sony Ericsson K300i on Qing, this one works. Here's my Sony Ericsson W200i on Qing, this one works but for lock code. The LG Onyx also has a lock code, but I forgot to mention it earlier. Here's my Samsung Monday slider. This one works but with battery issues. And also the screen doesn't work. Here's my Blue Diva Flex 1.8. This one's untested. Here's my Ryu Flip 2.4. Trying to open it there. There you go. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my Alcatel OT223. This one works but with a broken display. Here's my Louis Vuitton K16. This one's untested. Here's my Vario E71 clone. This one works. I didn't know it was long for so long. Sorry, I didn't know it was on for so long. Here's my Motorola Rocker EM25. This one doesn't work. Here's my Samsung GT E2210L. This one works, but oops. Here's my Blue Jenny 2. This one works. Here's my Nokia Astra 201 on Qing. This one works. Here are two Sony Ericsson W380Is. This one's on Qing. This black one works but with some issues. I don't know too much about them. This purple one doesn't work. Here's my Samsung GT E3217B on Vivo. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my LG Wine. This one works. Here's my Multi-Laser Up Dual. This one works with no battery. Here's my Nokia 7020A2. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my Nokia 16162. This one works. Here's my Motorola V60T. This one's untested. Here's my Motorola EX115. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my Nokia Acetul 2. This one works, but dead pixels on the screen. Here's my Nokia 1221 new version. This one's untested. Moving on to the last section here. Here's my Bright Baja. This one works, but I've accidentally made a polarizer issue with it. Here's my Samsung SGH C510L. This one's untested. Here's my BlackBerry Curve 8350i on Nextel. This one used to work, but it doesn't anymore. Here's my LG A395. This one works, but with a polarizer issue. Here's my Sony Ericsson K200i. This one's untested. Here's my Samsung SD8 C276 on T. This one works, but with battery issues. Here's my Motorola T190 on OI. This one is untested. Here's my Posteo P25. This one works. Here's my Rio 1. This one works. Here's my Sony Ericsson K550i, if I remember correctly. This one works. Here's my Samsung Squash on Vivo. This one works, but with battery issues. Finally, here's my Motorola i290 on Nextel. This one works. Now, unlocking the devices. This one's already on. This one's hard to press the button. Oh wait, it already locked. Wow. So it's my entire basic phone collection as of June 15, 2026. Like this one, and peace.